660 million TikTok views. Not for the chorus, not for the dance, for this.
What he said to me, he was like, "You're so rude." And I was like, "Boy, does it look like I could care? I couldn't even care less."
Usually when K-pop blows up, it's the choreography, or the hook, or one giant chorus everyone can scream back. But this time people weren't copying the dance. They were copying a sentence. 10 seconds, one rap part, a Korean girl group. A lot of people didn't even know a month ago. So what just happened? Because if you think this went viral, just because it's catchy, you're missing the whole thing. This moment works on multiple levels at once, musically, psychologically, socially, culturally. And once you see the design, you can't unsee it. Let's break it down. First, the basics, quickly. This is Rude by Hearts to Hearts. And within weeks, one short section of the song started spreading everywhere. Edits, reaction clips, memes, lip syncs, fan cams, and short-form remixes. But what's interesting is that the internet didn't lock on to the full performance. It locked onto one conversational rap part. Not the big vocal moment, not the hardest choreo point, the talking part. And that already tells you something important. This didn't spread like a song first. It spread like a quote. Something people could repeat, borrow, perform, make their own. So the real question isn't, why did the song do well? It's, why this part? And the answer starts with something very small that most people miss entirely. Listen to how it opens. You know what he said to me? That doesn't feel like a lyric. It feels like the start of a story. More specifically, it feels like the opening line of a short-form story time. The kind of sentence that instantly creates a gap between what you know and what you need to know. Someone says, "You know what he said to me?" And your brain immediately responds the same way every time. Wait, what did he say? That's why the next line matters so much. What? Now it's not just a line. It's a scene. A tiny scene with tension, a response, and a payoff. You're no longer just listening to music. You are inside a conversation. You are the friend. And that structure travels incredibly well online because it already matches the grammar of short-form content. It feels native to the internet. It sounds like a clip somebody would use to tell a personal story, to frame a reaction, to set up a punchline, to make a "this is literally what happened to me" video. So before we even get to the accent or the attitude, the structure is already doing a lot of the work. It opens a loop. And once that loop is open, people stay for the answer. But structure alone isn't enough. Because what makes this moment unforgettable is not just that it starts like a story. It's the character it creates the second she starts speaking. Now we get to the part people really react to. He was like, "You are so rude." And I was like, boy, does it look like I could care? I couldn't even care less. What makes this hit isn't just the English. It's the delivery. The cadence is hyper-specific, casual, conversational, a little exaggerated, very pop culture fluent. It carries this instantly recognizable American teen drama energy, Valley Girl inflection, the "he was like and I was like" storytelling rhythm. And the important point is not that it sounds random. It sounds coded. It comes with attitude already built in. And that's where the surprise kicks in. Because K-pop idols are usually presented through an image of control. Polished, precise, highly rehearsed, highly curated. So when that same polished image suddenly delivers something this casual, this dismissive, this low-effort cool, it creates a thrill. That's the duality. A high-control pop format, delivering a line that sounds almost offhand. Almost tossed away, like she barely had to try. And that gap is powerful. Not because it's chaotic, but because it feels unexpectedly human. This moment doesn't work because it feels like imitation. It works because it feels like fluency. Like an artist who understands the language and rhythm of global pop culture, well enough to remix it naturally. That's a big difference. And then, right at the center of that whole section, comes the real payoff. I couldn't even care less. That pauses everything. I couldn't care less is already a familiar phrase, but breaking it apart changes the energy. Instead of one complete expression, it becomes a setup and a drop. I couldn't even care. You wait. Then, less. That one word lands like punctuation, not just semantic payoff, rhythmic payoff, not just meaning, release. And the word right before it? Boy, does it look like I could care. In American slang, boy used this way isn't an insult. It's dismissal. It says, you are so far beneath my attention that I'm going to address you like a minor inconvenience. One word, complete power shift. She's not arguing. She's not defending herself. She's already above it. And that unbothered energy is exactly what people wanted to borrow. Which leads to the next layer. This didn't just go viral because it was fun to hear. It went viral because it was easy to become. This is the part that matters most online. The best viral moments are not just listenable, they're usable. And this line is extremely usable. Why? Because the barrier to participation is low. You don't need to sing. You don't need to hit a huge note. You don't need to learn full choreography. You just need timing, expression, attitude. That's it. So instead of feeling like a performance challenge, it feels like a personality template. People aren't just lip syncing a track. They're trying on a stance, a mood, a reaction, a social identity. That's why this kind of moment spreads so well on TikTok and Reels. It's not look at me perform this song. It's this line is me. That is a much stronger form of virality. Because once a song moment turns into a reaction format, it detaches from the original track and starts living everywhere. As a caption, as an edit sound, as a meme, as a comeback line, as a whole personality in 10 seconds. And once that happens, the song is no longer just being consumed. It's being adopted. Now zoom out and listen to what the production is doing underneath all of this. The track is built on a house-style groove. It moves, it loops. It keeps your body locked into repetition. And inside that repeated energy, this spoken section cuts through differently. Why? Because it stops behaving like a big melodic moment and starts behaving like information, like a quote. Like something your brain can latch onto as language, not just sound. That contrast matters. A track full of motion suddenly makes room for speech. And speech feels sharp, direct, memorable. It's the same basic principle that makes contrast powerful anywhere. When everything flows one way, the thing that changes texture becomes the thing you remember. So musically, this rap part doesn't interrupt the song by accident. It reframes attention. And that's why the line sticks, even if you only hear it once or twice. You're not memorizing a melody. You're memorizing a sentence. So we've got the structure, the persona shock, the adoption design, the musical contrast. But timing matters too, because a well-designed moment still needs the right emotional climate. And one reason this lands right now is that pop culture has been rewarding a very specific kind of energy. Not just confidence, refusal. Not please like me, not let me prove myself. More like, I'm not shrinking for your comfort. That's why this line feels bigger than a clever rap part. It feels like boundary setting in pop form. A tiny, stylish, extremely repeatable version of emotional distance. And that's a message a lot of people are ready for. Especially in an era where so much of online life feels performative, overexplained, and overexposed. There's something deeply satisfying about a line that says, no, I'm not doing emotional labor for this. I'm not even stepping into the argument. That's what this 10-second moment gives people. Not just sass. Permission. Permission to be uninterested. Permission to be unmoved. Permission to withhold access. And when a pop moment captures a feeling people already have, but haven't packaged this cleanly yet, That's when it explodes. K-pop keeps doing this, taking a global emotional frequency, packaging it with precision, and sending it back out to the world before anyone else has even named the feeling. That's not luck. That's a system. This didn't go viral by accident. It starts like a story time. It creates a character instantly. It turns a familiar phrase into rhythmic payoff. It gives people something easy to perform. And it arrives at exactly the moment that attitude makes emotional sense. That's why 10 Seconds traveled globally. Not because it was random, because it was reusable. And that's what this channel is about. Not just what's trending, but why it's trending. What structure is hiding underneath it. What emotional need it's answering. What it says about the moment we're living in. Because the more effortless something looks, the more deliberate it usually is. I'll see you in the next one.